Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. I wish I had a chime, but I don't. So, we are following recommendations from the Association of Unitarian Universalist Musicians to determine the safest practices for singing during services. And as you know, the important factors in keeping everyone safe is to limit the number of people singing and limit the duration of singing. So for the meantime, well, at least until Catherine gets back, she'll be back in 2 weeks. So she may have updates about this. But until then, if all of you can hum rather than sing when I am singing, that would be great. And it's also really helpful to have a sense of, even if you're humming and it's frustrating that you can't sing, it does create some sense of that community in making a joyful noise together, even if it's humming. So for the gathering song, I'd also really appreciate it if you could keep some rhythm while I do this chant. And let's say that you can do this, you can do your foot, whatever you want, but let's have about like this. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, Spirit draw near.
Our opening words this morning are from the Reverend John Saxon. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and the busyness of our lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day, in the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, for it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and to me. It's calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater service, greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to beauty. It's calling us to laugh and dance and sing. It's calling us to live through life's pains and sorrow. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love, and to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It's calling us into community. It's calling us into the greater life of all. Listen.
We light our chalice to remember the light within, to know that the hunger we feel inside is not an emptiness, but the echo of an inner wisdom that already knows what we need. May our time together help us welcome that voice and each other back home. Please join me in saying our affirmation of covenant and humming the doxology, which I will sing in English. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek harmony and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Come, O that dwell below the stars, let let peaceful dwell where peace belongs. De todos Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. Our minister, Reverend Kalani Kachela, is in the virtual pulpit this morning, thanks to the magic of technology. Joel and Peggy Brown will offer their reflections on stewardship later in the service. I am Maggie Locatelli, your service associate, and we are very pleased to be with you today. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with one another according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all forms. Everyone is welcome. You can learn more about our church by going to our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting us today, we'd like to meet you. Please let us know your name, where you are from, and how you heard about our church. If you are a visitor here in the sanctuary, please rise in body or spirit and introduce yourself. And since we do not have a cordless microphone right now, please speak as loudly as possible. Do we have visitors today? Okay, and do we have visitors on Zoom? If there are any shy visitors out there who chose not to introduce yourselves, please either fill out a visitor's card in the lobby of the sanctuary or leave your email in the chat box on Zoom so that we can contact you about other activities at the church. Your UUCLC staff and finance committee say, ahoy, mates. We are entering our stewardship season, so we invite you to look out for stewardship campaign materials in the mail. This year, the pledge drive theme is Set Your Sails to 2022. The nautical theme is slightly awkward for people who live in the desert, but so is this whole period of COVID time. It's a new normal, and we're sailing with it. As soon as the Set Your Sails for 2022 materials are printed, letters and pledge cards will be sent to contributors. Our hope is that you'll go ahead and complete the pledge cards and send them in using the enclosed return envelopes. Your speedy response will enable confidence in the budgeting and planning process for the coming year. You can also go to In Fellowship and make your 2022 pledge there on the website. There is much more to come about the 2022 Stewardship Campaign, so stay tuned. For now, please remember to open your UUCLC mailings right away. Return the pledge cards promptly. We're counting on you to set your sails to 2022. And now Katie Fitzgerald has other announcements.
Actually, I have two. For the first, imagine, if you will, a green hat with a big $sign. That's Chair of Finance Committee. That's my role. And I'm speaking now to all of the chairs of committees or ministries or programs within the church. Now's the time to speak up and have your voices heard as we develop the budget for 2022. Please get your recommendations to me by the end of today, if you can, so that we can have our conversation on Tuesday. The committee can have its conversation on Tuesday afternoon and have your input as part of our discussion. I thank all of the chairs who have already sent their information in. That would be Rabbit, Charlie, Joan and Hale, Tom, and Dave Rice. Thank you. Okay, erase the green hat, new role. This is very colorful, very energetic, very excited. And if you could see my mouth, there'd be a grin from ear to ear. I am now speaking as the chair of the auction committee. And I am so excited because we have had tremendous response from all of you and the community. And we have over 70 donations of events, gift certificates, services. You would not believe this catalog. It is incredible. So I thank everyone who has stepped up and made their contributions. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the precautions that we've put in place for the auction. If you read about them in the light, you can just take a little minute to zone out and maybe meditate, and I'll speak to those who haven't read about them. Some of you may not know this, but I'm one of 7. And I'm very close to a brother who is a dear soul, but unfortunately, life has taken its toll. And he doesn't have the balance he once had. He now walks with a cane. He has severe neuropathy. But he would love our auction because he is very social and he loves good food. And he likes to be with people and he enjoys music and entertainment. And he'd get a kick out of seeing people compete for some of the events that I know are going to be part of this auction. And he'd be egging me on. Okay, Katie, you want that one. You want that one. Go, girl. He'd probably grab my bidding card and put it up a couple of times. But unfortunately, because of his condition, it would not be great for him to be around on the lawn and out under the shade structure. There would be a risk of him falling, and he's fallen at least 3 times that I know of in the last 6 months. So what could we do to help protect him and others among him, like him in our congregation? So some of my fellow committee members came up with this notion. So we're going to reserve some of the parking spaces in the north lot. I don't know where I am directionally. I'm challenged in that way. But imagine the north lot of the parking. Okay, is that a way? Okay, great. And there's a line. And if you call ahead, you can reserve a space, and we can have curbside service of your breakfast. You can roll down the windows and listen to the Lush Life Quartet. And if you like, we can arrange for you to have a proxy server, proxy bidder, excuse me, not proxy server, duh. Proxy bidder. You tell us what events you want, how high you want to go, and they will make your voices heard. So all we really want to do with this event is have an opportunity to celebrate our UU connections, get together on Saturday, October 31st, the day before Halloween. 30th, sorry, Halloween is the 31st. The 30th from 9 to noon, have a great breakfast, silent auction, live auction, celebrate our togetherness, and make a little money for the church. Hope to see you all there. I'll be here during the coffee hour if you have any questions or things that you would like to bring to my attention. Love to hear from you. Thank you, Maggie.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Yes, a woman of many hats. And thank you all for being here today.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none.
One of the ways we support one another in community is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. In these challenging times, it is crucial that we make attempts to stay connected to one another. Our church's website has a link which allows you to confidentially submit a joy, sorrow, or milestone to Reverend Kachela. You can specify if you would like your submission shared with the caring team and/or the congregation, or if you prefer it stay confidential with the minister. Nora Brown sent in this joy. My joy is having the opportunity to participate in live theater productions for the first time since March 2020. I'm in a play called Almost Maine. The show is at the Las Cruces Community Theater. It opened on last Friday, and will run through October 24th. Nora, we can hear the applause already. No other joys or sorrows were sent in this week. As human beings sharing space on this planet, we all hold hopes and dreams, wounds and worries in our hearts. Remembering this, let us treat others with patience and love.
Invite you to join me for a moment of prayer and reflection and meditation. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and mystery beyond all our naming, we gather today as a community, as a beloved community, as a community determined to make a difference, a community filled with love, compassion, and justice, and a community that especially cares for each other. As we prepare for the coming year and invite each person here to continue contributing their time, talent, and treasure, let us remember those who are less fortunate than we are. We remember those who are struggling in the various forms of their lives, such as with health, mental health, financial difficulties, estrangements, loneliness, death, and grief. Help us to surround each of us with a caring spirit of concern. We pray today that this community will rally itself and set its sails for 2022 in a way that enables us to have a viable ministry for the coming year. We acknowledge that these are difficult times for many people, and we understand that circumstances have changed over the last year. And yet our ministry continues, and thus we ask each of us to be mindful of all that is before us and do our best to continue to help this community thrive. We ask this and the prayers of our hearts into silent meditation. I ask this prayer and meditation in the name of all persons present and absent, known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, and all helpers of humankind. Amen, and may it be so.
The sermon reading this morning is from Howard Zinn. He wrote this in September of 2004, so that gives you a framework. The optimism of uncertainty. An optimist isn't necessarily a blithe, slightly sappy whistler in the dark of our time. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. We would be one as now we join in singing. If you would like to rise in body or spirit and hum with me, that would be great. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of praise to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice. Try to make us free.
This year, we're opening our stewardship campaign differently. Instead of me offering a kickoff sermon, I want to make a short introduction to our stewardship campaign, then invite Joel and Peggy Brown to offer a testimony regarding their view of stewardship. And I'm offering it by video since this week I'm away while Tamara has a dental procedure. I'd like to acknowledge before I begin that tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, and this is LGBTQ month. This community is heavily engaged in social justice of all people, especially Indigenous people, and supporting the LGBTQ community. And I want to thank all those who showed up last week for the Pride event and helped represent our church. Historian Howard Zinn says this: if we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. I believe this is one of those times in our community's history where people are ready to behave magnificently. We've regathered during this ongoing pandemic and are ready for the new normal. That means we'll be doing things differently, embracing new ways of carrying out our ministry and utilizing ways to fulfill our mission as best we can. Our theme for this year's Stewardship Campaign is Set Your Sails for 2022. There's no better way to act magnificently than to raise our sails and catch the wind of the coming year. We must fund our ministries, which continue as the pandemic creates more stormy seas. When we say set our sails or set your sails, we do mean raise your sails, let the wind carry you, and let it propel you into uncharted waters. This time last year, we thought we might have worked our way through this pandemic, but instead, we're still sailing through choppy waters. That means we need to put on our life jackets and get used to doing ministry and living out our mission and vision with more protection than we normally wear. For this reason, I'm asking you to please consider giving your pledge as generously as you can. If you can pledge the amount you pledged in the past, we hope you will do that this year. If you can pledge more, we welcome all the spontaneous generosity you can muster. And for those of you or those among us who were dealt a blow over the last 18 to 19 months, we stand by you also and invite you to pledge in the amount that suits your situation now. We'd like to run our pledge drive this year until the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We ask that you please take time to complete your pledge cards immediately upon receiving them and return them to the church. At the close of the campaign, I will bring a capstone sermon that recognizes all your gifts to this beloved community. I'm grateful for all that you do to this beloved community and graciously receive the gifts of time, talent, and treasure. May our pledge drive start afresh, and let us swing wide the doors to the church and invite all people in, and set your sails to 2022. Remember to act magnificently. May it be so.
Honey, can I have some money for groceries?
What do you need grocery money for? I thought you had money.
Well, I did have some, but after I paid some bills and we had that little repair we didn't expect, it was gone. Now I need to pick up a few things for dinner.
Well, can't you just make do with what we already have in the fridge?
Okay, dinner's green chilies, apples, and barbecue sauce.
Ooh, that doesn't float my boat at all. I thought we were better prepared. Maybe we should have budgeted a little more.
Good morning. I'm Joel Brown. This is my wife, Peggy. Not exactly sure why we're designated guest speakers. We've been active members here since 2002, although you probably haven't seen a lot of us lately. Peggy's working on the hospitality committee, usually busy preparing for coffee hour after the service, and I'm one of the religious education teachers.
You know, Joel, Just a reminder, we do have coffee and cookies down here outside of the RE building. So please come after church and join us.
I'm so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
forgot that.
You know, Joel, we've been Unitarian Universalists for a long time. And sometimes that's kind of hard to pin down what it is.
Well, how would you define us?
Funny you should ask, because I looked that up on the UUA website. And this is what they said. We are brave, courageous, and compassionate thinkers and doers. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, but aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good. We have a track record of standing on the side of love, justice, and peace. We have radical roots and a history as self-motivated spiritual people. We think for ourselves and recognize that life experiences influence our beliefs more than anything. We need not think alike to love alike. We are people of many beliefs and backgrounds, people with a religious background, people with none, people who believe in a God, people who don't, and people who let the mystery be. We are Unitarian Universalists and Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, humanist, Jewish, Muslim, pagan, atheist, and agnostic, believers in God, and more. We are on the forefront of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer inclusion for more than 40 years now. We are people of all sexual orientations and gender identities.
So we Unitarians are truly a diverse lot. People coming from and headed in different directions for different reasons. If we are to treat each other with respect and ultimately to learn from each other and really gain benefit from all this diversity, we must agree on a common language and a common set of rules or manners, if you will. This is our covenant. Why we refer to ourselves as a covenantal church. This past month in RE, we've been focusing on renewing and revising our covenant. After we came back out, after the pandemic, we thought we needed to agree on a new set of manners or rules about how we would treat each other and how we want to be treated. We all agree on the basics of good listening, but we thought we needed to work harder at it and also at thinking about how we can sustain our world.
Sustainability. Sustainability means meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In addition to natural resources, we also need social and economic resources. Sustainability is not just conservation of existing resources, it is also growth. As a church, we invest in religious education. We have groups working on the 8th principle, a library for adults to use to learn more about their own personal spiritual journeys. We have occasional book discussion groups, not to mention all the social justice projects you can participate in. And most importantly, we teach our young people our 7 principles. Our youth are fearless, passionate, and they want to connect with others. They can spread the word, and they can do this for decades to come.
In this church, in our sermons, in our discussions, in our roundtable, we talk a lot about sustainability, generally about the environment and the 7th principle. We don't speak a lot about finance, which is also a core principle of sustainability, and it's often overlooked. Those conversations are about the future, but we seldom talk explicitly about that future and the details. In my work with environmental groups, One of the things that always separates the successful groups from the also-rans is their ability to describe in detail the future that they want, with enough detail so that all the participants can see themselves in that future. And they can see how they can work to achieve that future. That does two things. That allows them to express their desires clearly and their role in achieving that future. When people see the future and how they can help make it, that's when people participate, and that's when we get real sustainability. We become stewards.
Stewardship makes organizations work. Good stewardship propels us forward.
Stewardship's an ethic that embodies responsible planning and management of resources. The concepts of stewardship can be applied to the environment, nature, economics, health, property, information, theology, culture resources. Our theme this year is set sail for the future. In our case, setting sail for the future involves two things. First, envisioning a future that gets everyone in the boat, an inclusive one, even for those people that we don't yet know. Second, and the most important, is the fuel that will propel us toward that future. In our case, that fuel is our talent, our time, and our treasure that is the wind in our sails toward our future.
We are starting our annual stewardship campaign. Now is the time for you to commit to be a steward. We need you to participate in sustaining our church, not for just a year, but for a better future. Like our first couple, we need to plan better.
Peggy and I are increasing our pledge this year. We ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel and Peggy. And as we know, the Browns not only give their treasure, they definitely give their time and talent. Many different talents and overtime. And I do want to apologize to the hospitality committee and to you, because the hospitality committee did its research and has set up new normals to extend our vision of keeping everybody safe while we are still in the same spaces. So please do attend their coffee hour, and they will serve you, and you'll be able to enjoy refreshments in the fresh air. Since September 5th, we have been presenting hybrid worship services. That is, we have been holding services in our refurbished sanctuary and continuing to stream our services so that we can include as many people as possible. As a community of faith and generosity, since March of last year, we weathered more than a year and a half during which no services were held in person. Many of the church's expenses continued during the past 18 months, 19 months now, and we may still see increases as we reopen and expand services and programs. It is vitally important for the ongoing work and health of the church that each of us fulfill our current financial pledges, if at all possible. All through the pandemic, this church continued its financial support of organizations identified by our Social Justice Committee as recipients for the Change for Change program. This quarter's recipient is Seroptimist International of Las Cruces, which is part of a global women's service organization. Their mission is to provide women and girls with access to the education and training they need to achieve economic empowerment. Our local Seroptimus Club supports women's education in southern New Mexico with our Dream It, Be It award and Live Your Dream awards that provide financial support for educational programs beyond high school. The Dream It, Be It Career Support Conference, sponsored by Seroptimus International, teaches high school girls enduring life skills. You can make your pledge or donate to Change for Change by going to our church's website in the Give link. You can also send your check to the church if you prefer, or you can put your change and or checks in the baskets, which will now be passed. From you, well, sorry. From you receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. You're welcome to hum along. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. We are pleased that you have joined us for this worship service. And if you are looking for a spiritual home and are sympathetic with Unitarian Universalist values and principles, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces may be the place for you. We believe that when you become a member, you are entering into a warm and deep relationship with the church and all of our members and friends. You are becoming a part of something much bigger than any one of us. You're becoming a part of a movement to change our community and the world. There are several routes to membership. You may speak with the minister after an in-person service, call the church and leave a message about your interests. A person from the membership committee will call you back, or sign the virtual membership book in through the link in the electronic order of service.
There's a man by my side walking. There's a voice within me talking. There's a word that needs a saying. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. They will tell their lying stories, send their dogs to bite our bodies. They will lock us into prison. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. Oh, they're All their prison walls will crumble. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. If you can't go on any longer, take the hand held by your brother. Every victory gonna bring another. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. There's a man by my side walking. There's a voice within me talking. There's a word that needs a saying. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on.
Our closing words are by the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, who writes, "Walk the maze within your heart. Guide your steps into its questioning curves. This labyrinth is a puzzle leading you deeper into your own truths. Listen in the twists and turns. Listen in the openness within all searching. Listen. A wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and in that dialogue lies peace." Amen.
Please,
All right.
Joel. That's okay. Please join me in the words for extinguishing the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light. Yeah. And there is a postlude.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see, no, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. If the sky we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. me. Oh, stand by me.